Hi guys, and welcome back to SwitchUp. The last review that we just released, X-Morph Defenders, kind of got an itch going on in the back of my mind. There are actually far more strategy games than you might think on the Switch. Now, not all of them are the same. There are the 4X strategy games like Civilization, there are real-time strategy games like the one we've just reviewed, and there are also turn-based strategy RPGs, and I'm going to put them all into this list, the ones that I've played and that I've enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments what your favourite strategy game is, and maybe some that you'd like to see come to the Switch. Command and Conquer. The first game that I want to put into the list is one that I've played quite a lot of, and it's Thea the Awakening. It's a turn-based strategy survival game. The game combines turn-based strategic gameplay with the tension and grit of a roguelike, but it also has some board game elements, so when you go into a fight or a battle, you use the cards that you've collected to try and resolve the combat. It is a really complex game, and there's a strong survival element to it. I hadn't actually played any of the previous ones of this series, and it's Valkyria Chronicles 4. I really enjoyed this turn-based strategy game, and I was quite surprised by how deep it was. You control your squad over several missions, and this will include snipers, soldiers, but also tanks. Combined with the lovely visuals and excellent narrative, I was really impressed with this game.
I'll do my part if you promise to do yours.
Armello is a difficult game to describe. The developers call it a digital simulation of a traditional fantasy tabletop role-playing game. It has virtual dice, there are cards here, and you use these to carry out specific actions. Depending on which animal clan you choose, you get very specific skills and abilities, and the main goal is to storm the castle and become the new king or queen of the kingdom. The whole board is divided into hexagonal shaped tiles, which have randomly generated features in them, so every time you play the game, it is like playing a board game. It's never the same two times. It's a very complex game indeed, but if it sounds interesting to you, I can definitely recommend it. I'm going to butcher this next pronunciation. It's Achtung Cthulhu Tactics. Yeah, I think that sounds about right. This is a nice Lovecraftian mix of turn-based strategy, very much in the vein of the XCOM games if you've played those. Here though, you're in a World War II universe where light battles dark, and you'll encounter some very strange creatures like Shoggoths and other unspeakable evils. While I wasn't overly impressed with the visuals of this game, the core gameplay is very addictive. It has some interesting ideas, like a momentum system whereby if your characters witness too many of the horrors, it will actually affect the way they play. I like little ideas like this, they're very unique.
Feared as much as he is admired. Not forgetting the formidable acts of Ariane Dubois. A stalwart member of the French resistance, she bolsters Charlie Company's firepower with her trusted Luger and savage attacks. Thus far, history has been kind. But now, a darker evil engulfs the forest of fear. Without your help,
The next game is Halcyon 6 Starbase Commander. We recently reviewed this one on the channel, so I won't say too much about it. You end up controlling and managing your own starbase, but there's also some turn-based combat in here as well. I've got a code for this and need to play it. It just looks lovely. You couldn't have a strategy list without worms, it would just be wrong. For those of you who don't know worms, if there are any people on this planet that don't know worms, it's essentially two teams blasting it out on a 2D map, and you have several different weapons that you can use to eradicate your opponent. This version though was the first time that they included vehicles and stationary turrets, which can change the gameplay massively. There are tanks, helicopters, mechs, and the usual airdrops that we all grew up with, as well as every other worm element. My personal favourite being creating your own little family of worms, giving them all names, and then dying horribly online. Yeah. I haven't actually played this next title, but I know a few people who have, and they absolutely love it. It's called Bad North. This is a simplistic real-time strategy game, but it has roguelite elements as well. The aim is to defend your little island against hordes of Viking invaders as you lead the desperate exodus of your people. That was blatantly straight from the website. I do really like the look of this. It was originally on mobile, which I know put some people off, but that doesn't bother me at all if it's a great game. The next game, or I should say games, it's actually a trilogy, is the Banner Saga series. Now you might think, hang on, what are you on about? That's not a strategy game, but actually there's a very deep turn-based strategy element to it. When you're facing other enemies or you're in combat, it switches to an isometric real-time strategy. And while the earlier games, maybe 1 and 2, weren't that deep, by the third game they'd really perfected this system. Also, the visuals are absolutely lovely. These are really essential games in my opinion for any fans of adventure games, but also strategy. Now, if you haven't checked out his channel, the excellent Flannel Fox has a review of this game, and it was this review that made me think, hang on, this needs to go in my list. The game is Into the Breach. And while I haven't actually played this, the developers describe it as a turn-based combat strategy where you can coordinate your actions in response to enemy moves. You have to analyze your opponent's attacks and come up with the perfect counter. But also all the while you're building the ultimate mech by finding new weapons and unique pilots as you battle the Vec infestation. So there you have it. Sounds really nice, and if you haven't done so, check out the Flannel Fox. His review is excellent of this game. The next game is actually 2 games, and it's the This Is the Police series, which Glen reviewed for us and is from the excellent THQ Nordic. These strategy games see you overseeing a police force. You have to manage your individual police officers, and the second game also had a turn-based tactical combat element to it, again similar to the XCOM games. There is a storyline that runs through the whole experience as well. These are very good games and are an amalgamation of simulation, strategy, but also turn-based gameplay. Prison Architect is another game that's been recommended very, very, very heavily from a friend of mine, Alan. You might remember he did the Diablo video for us. Now this was originally on PC, and anyone who's played it for any amount of time will tell you how unbelievably addictive it is. You have to design and run your own prison. You are essentially the architect as well as the governor of the prison. You control every single detail, from building new cells and facilities to hiring staff and creating reform programs. If you saw Glen's recent review of the updated, and I use that in air quotes even though you can't see them, Roller Coaster Tycoon series on Nintendo Switch, we were so disappointed by the lack of depth. They seem to have stripped out all of the detail. This game has all of that detail and more, with some nice additions like being able to show off and share your prisons. There is some DLC to be had here as well if you get really into the game, and it will cost you around $30.
There you go. See what the shakedown turned up. Security cameras, much better. No nasty surprises now, eh? Oh, lovely. Lots of stuff in the common room keeping them occupied. And who can get upset when Grandma's in the visitation room? There's Rory again. Hello, Rory. Nice upgrades.
Mushroom Wars 2 is a game I reviewed on the channel about 6 months ago. This is a real-time strategy game where you control a group of mushrooms and you have several skills and abilities you can use to gradually overtake the map. Another thing that was really nice about it were the boss fights, which used the same mechanics as the normal levels to see you overcome a range of unique bosses. I really like that idea.
Of our mushroom lives, whether you are leading our campaign or battling other armies around the world, we will fight at your command. For these are the Mushroom Wars! Yes, you are right. We will save our speeches for victory. Whom shall we conquer first?
X-Morph Defense has just been reviewed on the channel, so if you want to go and check out Chicken Perm's review, well, go and have a look. It's a decent game this, but it also has a lovely mechanic where you can switch to your X-Morph fighter and take on the fight directly. Steamworld Heist is a side-scrolling strategy game which focuses on skill rather than chance, but it features 2D turn-based combat while the player still controls the aiming of all firearms and can bounce the bullets off the environment. So although it's strategic, it will also very much require individual player skill for you to overcome. There's over 100 different weapons and 100 different hats to collect, if that's your thing. Just the name Steamworld for many people is enough to check out a game. This didn't disappoint.
Use your surroundings to pull off fantastic trick shots. Recruit a ragtag team of steam-driven automatons. Use their unique abilities.
It wouldn't be right not to have this game. It's Civilization 6, which I reviewed for the awesome guys over at 2K. This was another of those huge reviews that went absolutely insane. I think this one's on about 150,000 or something. But the most important part here is that this is an excellent port of the game. While this was first released on the iPad, the Switch version is the only console version of it, and if you're into 4X strategy games, which I most certainly am, it offers a great deal of gameplay. Don't get me wrong, the AI is not perfect. The main thing here is that the Switch handles the port incredibly well. Performance is excellent, but you will begin to notice the slightly frustrating AI later in the game. For the majority of players, you're going to have an absolute blast with this game.
Be careful though. Warmongering doesn't make you the most popular leader in the world. If the brutish ways of domination aren't for you, try for something more civilized. Recruit history's greatest artists, musicians, writers, and more to create great works in your Civ. Soon you'll attract more tourists than the postcard industry can handle. Keep the tourism train rolling, and you'll become the envy of the world. Congrats, you just got a call.
And the last game on the list, well, because, you know, Reggie's going, I had to put something with Mario in. It's Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Growing up, I was a huge fan of the XCOM games, and I never expected to see a Ubisoft Mario collaboration in the first place. So to then see them create a game which for all intents and purposes is a love letter to XCOM was amazing. You can also do co-op with this one. Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle is not just a child's game, it really is one with a good level of strategy, and the turn-based combat is excellent. So there we have it, guys. Those are my favourite strategy games on the Nintendo Switch. Let me know down in the comments if I've missed any. I'm sure I have. And remember, we give away a free Nintendo Switch game every single month. I want to say a huge thank you to all of you new subscribers on the channel, and to everyone that just has a bit of a laugh, really. No one seems to take themselves too seriously around here, and that's the way we like it. For all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. See ya!